Well, there we go. Don't want to be late for court. There we go. Don't want to be late for court. There we go. Got audio. Come on now, screen. Give me that picture. Clear it up. Do it. I command. All right. How the hell are we going to hold court if we don't get cooperation? I'll put up for no contempt of court. Not from AI or tech or fuckery of any kind. Welcome, everybody. Welcome. I have a desire that you will have the attention span and interest to sit through this YouTube. Not just to sit through it, but to pay the fuck attention. Not just pay attention, but start critical thinking. Then apply that critical thinking. Now, before we call in the jury, there's a couple of things I wanna I hate the word present, but fuck it, I'm gonna present. Here is your present. Y'all know the yin and the yang, right? Half of the circle's got this thingy, and then balanced in the other half of the circle is that thingy. And they tell you got to have a balance between good and evil. All right, everything you know pretty much is a lie. Can you get your arms around that? Huh? All right, but now you've got some truth coming out, right? Now you got a lot of treasonous truthers. You got a lot of parasitic truthers. Now some of them are like 80-20 guys. Some of them are 90-10 guys. Some of them 5 guys, right? And that high number, that's their patriot side. That's to hook you in. And then they're going to tell you, hey, for special content that I can't tell you here, come over to my other channel and pay, fuckers, and then buy my shit. Well, you ain't got nothing here. I got nothing for sale. You either pay attention or you don't. You either get it or you don't. You either get up off your knees and get your finger out of your ass, figuratively for most of you. All right? Figuratively for most of you. Can you comprehend that? When I say get your finger out of your ass, I'm talking figuratively to the vast majority of you. Unfortunately, there are those of you that I know got that son of a bitch up there. All right, the yin and the yang. It's a fucking lie, in my opinion. In my opinion, it's more like this. You see? And we were born into a mirrored existence of heaven above and hell below. And we need to flip it. And that's your balance. and then maintain that balance. Do not let this ever happen again. Never. How do you like my definition of the yin and the yang? My eyes are too tired, or the light's not good enough. I gotta put on my eye aids. Big stink. Rock on, bro. Well, you didn't. Yeah, you're not late for court. What do you think about that yin yang from the perspective of a 65-year young man? I spent most of my life being a young man getting older. Then I became a middle-aged man getting older. Then I became an old man getting older. But now I'm a young man. I'm an old man getting younger. And I show you how. I share my trade secrets and my intellectual property and a bunch of other knowledge. I'm an old man getting younger. It's fucking freaking me out. All right. Ethan, you hold court? Damn straight, bro. I hold court. Ethan, how can you do that? Oh, Jesus, people. I'm gonna be patient with y'all because I know how dumbed down and toxified and MK Ultra'd and fear-based and indoctrinated and etc., etc., etc. Oh my goodness, where are we? Where is it at? It's got to be right here somewhere. Okay. Here we go. You can find this kind of stuff in the documents section on the services page at oralhealthwithcannabis.com. Document called 48 Love Letters. It is 48 state constitutions that I put together in a Word document. Your rights are not constitutional. They were once constitutionally protected. They are unalienable, unalienable, and that's babble. But we know the volition of that, don't we? So own your authority. Period. All right. Right to prosecute civil cause. That no person shall be barred from prosecuting. That no person shall be barred from prosecuting. That no person shall be barred from prosecuting. Prosecuting. Get that through your thick heads. That no person shall be barred from prosecuting or defending before any tribunal in this state by himself or counsel any civil cause to which he is a party. Georgia, right to the courts. No person shall be deprived of the right to prosecute, to prosecute, to prosecute, to prosecute, to prosecute, to prosecute, to prosecute. No person shall be deprived of the right to prosecute, or defend, either in person or by an attorney, that person's own cause in any of the courts of this state. Apparently, 50% of attorneys don't hold bar cards. That's how you become fucking prosecutor, because you have the unalienable right to be prosecutor. It was once constitutionally protected. Mark Levin ain't going to tell you that. So, prosecutor. Now, this is old paperwork here. This got served to the sheriff's department. Kalkaska, corrupt village of Kalkaska. I think it was June 28th, 2021. There's a lot of names on here. I've held court or created cases on many what you would consider to be high profile. Gretchen Whitmer served and defaulted. Yeah, that bitch in my court pled guilty to treason. That's the way it goes. Rob Buchanan, testimony and evidence. Oh, he's number 2 on the list. Well, there's a long list of names here. These are all big, well, not all big names. We got some real fucking parasites on there too, like Rick Schneider and Gary Peters, and Dar Rendon, Susan Corbin, Connor Clemens, administrative law judge Lindsey Wilson, a couple of parasite bar attorneys, several parasite bar attorneys. So at any rate, that's how you can prosecute. You own your authority. You know what your rights are. And you know how to stand on them. All right? You got that? Is that clicking? All right. Now, what you know of is court. Ain't no court. You see this up here? I think you can. That says fraud. F-R-A-U-D. Fraud. That's in red. Fact. Fact. That's a capital T, but it's a little bit smaller than these three. I just happen to notice that that's the way Chief did it when he posted the other day, for the first time that I've ever seen or heard from Chief, that it's martial law. So somebody commented to that video, said, "Oh, I've heard him say that before, and he talks about the spears on the flags, and I want to." And I'm like, okay, well, I haven't heard it, and I would think that the questions that get posed to him would be a lot different if he had said that. So at any rate, I don't want to belabor that. I just, we have fact, we have fraud. In your circuit courts, your district courts, your federal courts, where there is a gold fringed flag and a spear on top and wings up or wings down, one of them's Vatican, one of them's banking. You got that gold fringed flag that's British, captured your flag and decorated with a fucking tassel. All right. You're in there. You're a pure slave. You're acting like a moron. Not because you're a moron, because you've been brainwashed. You've been dumbed down. You've been toxified. You've been fear-based. Men have been emasculated. And so we got a country full of fucking pussies. Our men come back from other countries and battles, and they can't even take care of themselves. They're on the street. They're homeless. They're fucking blowing their brains out. They're slitting their wrists. They're fucking hanging themselves. They're jumping out of buildings because they fucking pussified them. Goddamn fucking flag is captured, motherfuckers. I didn't take no damn oath. I have a moral compass. I know I have a duty. I have an obligation to flip that yin yang and make sure it don't never happen again. Now, in a open court of law, not legalese, assumptions, presumptions, slavery, a public court of law, the highest court, the highest court in this realm. You got that? Trying to make this so stupidly simple. Do you get it? And these motherfuckers cannot walk down the fucking street again. Oh, wouldn't that be a win-win? Hey! Holy shit! My video, Assassinate the Straw Man, turned into a series of videos. That first one, YouTube clocked it at 100 views after 7 days. Woo-hoo! Oh man, that's like some algorithm ass kicking. I'm excited. YouTube says 100 people saw it. I know at least 101 people saw it on YouTube. I can just, I would bet just about anything on that. All right, now I'm getting ready to open court. And this is in the court of public opinion. This is for education. This is to educate for the yin and for the yang. Yeah. Old poopy pants probably can't keep a clean diaper. All right. Now, let's clarify a couple of things. This case was facilitated on this day, on this 28th day of June, 2021, before Christy Chilson, Notary Public, State of Michigan, County of Kalkaska, Notary as Juris Certificate. That means this work's 2 years old. 2 years old. When did I get red pilled? About 2.5 years ago. You see, I don't sit around with my finger up my fucking ass. I fight. And I fight fucking hard. So, I'll talk about some things that I did in my early days of awakening with this case that I think is valuable information for you. And then I have talked about in recent videos things that I've learned, like bonding to paper, getting that, formatting it so you got room for your stamp, your $1 gold back stamp, and your thumbprint and your autograph, your $1 gold back stamp, your autograph, then your thumbprint, touching the stamp, touching the last part of your surname and the document. You are canceling the stamp and, oh Lord, the word escapes me. You're canceling the stamp and you are, well, I've said it in the other videos. It'll come back to me. Well, I just got too many things in here and too many things trying to jump in, and I'm trying to stay on track and just keep this all really stupidly simple for you. So I've talked about the things that I would do differently, like the bracketing, since I don't do the syntax to make the sentence structure mathematically correct forward and backwards. One thing that I did is I created multiple originals because I was dealing with high profile individuals. In 2000 in 2015, when I was maliciously attacked for my discoveries, the news of the day after day for a period of months was about the naturalist doctors, scientists with medical breakthroughs on some very troubling diseases and conditions that were having these very unusual deaths. The number was well over 100. And so how the fuck do you think I'm feeling? You know, put yourself in my shoes back in those days. Oh man, the fucking bullets I have dodged. But when you walk with the I am, you wear the full armor, and I was literally on my deathbed. I was checking out, and the I am said, "You aren't. You aren't. You ain't checking out. You've not suffered enough. You've not had a long enough suffering, and you get a job to do." Oh, he didn't tell me it that way at that time. That came a little bit later. So I know who I am. I know why I'm here. And I know what I'm doing. And I'm destroying evil. I am a motherfucker from the other realm, here to destroy evil and set you people free. Now, Rob Buchanan, President, State Bar of Michigan, with a militarized address of 306 Townsend Street, Lansing, Michigan, 48933-2012. That's the case I created. And when I was at the sheriff's department over 2 years ago as prosecutor with this order for arrest and detention and get these parasites in front of a jury, because in several of these cases, court has been held, and these treasonous fucks pled guilty to treason. So a jury must be assembled so that the case can be concluded. Guilty can be sentenced lawfully, and restoration can be ordered by the jury to whatever degree they determine. So in many cases, court's already been held, and I'm just looking for the jury. Because of such high profile, I created many and a state and some words across the top of the page, right there. So I'll read that. I'll read that for you. 3 of 5 original with seal. Notice by affidavit initialed herein. Then there's a space for the notary public to put their initials. So herein, space, within, by notary as jurat certificate, witness below. Yeah, what is that, you may ask? That's my dead man switch. That lets some motherfucker know that there's at least 5 originals, and maybe they got a copy. In some cases, they got copies. In some cases, they got one of the originals. I really didn't give a fuck because I had 5 originals to begin with, and I have at least 4 in many cases and 5 in others. And they get distributed and placed in different locations so that you just can't come in and burn me out. You can't drop a rod of gad on me and it's all gone. And then I back it up on YouTube. I've read most of these cases on YouTube, and I'm sure I read this one. I'm going to read it again. But I'm here with a different mindset this time around. And I can explain more, and hopefully this is going to all start to sink in. Is so stupidly simple. You, as far as any statute, act, code, rule, regulation, ordinance done since prior to the continuity of government and martial law, to me, is irrelevant. It is fraud. That's a fact. In a court of law, we try facts. In a court of legalese, where they operate on assumptions and presumptions in human trafficking, slavery, and torture, the truth or facts cannot be tried. That is a fact. I'm being a really bad smoker. I try. It's just like sometimes I just wish I was more me. Wish there was more of me. I wish I had more time. Maybe if you motherfuckers would wake the fuck up and become motherfuckers, I could get back to I could get on with a life. A real life. After 65 years of being a fucking slave, damn near 65 years of being a slave. I mean, yesterday was my birthday. 65 years old. 65 years getting younger. Still a shitty smoker after all these years. All right. This is from me, the claimant, one of the people. And the case is brought on Rob Buchanan, President, State Bar of Michigan. And then it says notice of constitutional right violations, notice of fraud, notice of constitutional demand, notice of common law, notice of right to arbitration, notice of liability, notice of constitutional class action, notice of treason. Respondent, Rob Buchanan. Claimant, one of the people, Ethan D. Dean. Well, that would read : Ethan -D, : Dean. As it reads, it's from : Ethan space D period Dean. A little quantumizing there before, even though it's not quantum, there's a little bit of quantumizing there. You see, that's what happens when you walk with I am. You see, you can be well dressed even in rags. I don't know where my door dasher is, but I think I got some shirts coming. I do. Notice to agent is notice to principal. Notice to principal is notice to agent. In other cases, I upgraded that. Is notice to substitutes, replacements, maybe some more. All right, then it says notice by affidavit. Well, in the quantum, affidavit means no David. So I would say notice by claimant. You see? That's 2 years, a little over 2 years down the road. However, it's just to quantumize. So as I started getting hit with all this quantum crap, and I don't mean crap in a bad way, I just mean, holy shit. Holy shit. Quantum crap. All right. Good shit. Does that have just a little tone of George Carlin there? Just FYI, because I struggle so mightily to break the algorithms, and I do purposefully display emotion and purposely to have an impact on you and fire you up, make you think. And so I think about a lot of things. And one, for example, is Howard Stern. Now, Howard Stern is quite a character. And he became kind of like a sensation. And apparently the research as to what made him not tick, but click, what made him click with you all was people were tuning in just to see what he would say next because he was so outlandish. So I got no problem being outlandish and brass. I'm a whistleblower and I'm an educator. And if I can portray any attributes of the things that helped Howard, is that right? Howard Stern, yeah. And George Carlin, and like that, that's why I do it. Just have what. All right. So, all right, now we're getting ready to come into court. Hear ye, hear ye. Court is about to come into session. We will have a few bits of commentary along the way. This is court of public opinion. I already talked about some of the corrections I would make, or upgrades, or correctness added. See, it's the truth and the facts. It's the volition. If you can't syntax, then, and you can't write grammar, bracket it. According to the chief, that's going to work just fine for now. So, look, an illiterate can make a mark, can contract with a mark. So, you're not to be penalized in a court of truth and fact because you have been spellbound in a demonic babble bullshit, MK ultra toxified, fear-based, faced with destruction of your morality, your spirituality, and anything that's good within or about you since your first breath and before. I talked about the poisoning. You don't think Mama's being poisoned? Well, you're in there developing. Think about it, folks. Keep it stupidly simple. Separate fact from fiction. Put the good on top and keep it balanced. Okay? Keep it balanced. Do not let it do this ever again. This is where we are. This is where we are. And boom, this is where we can be. If you would just own your fucking authority. Now, in fraud, fiction, administrative assumption, presumption, courts, shit is boxed. Shit is boxed. It's a jury box inside the box. That means it doesn't say jury box on that paper. Wait a minute, Ethan, I'm reading jury box. But it's in a box. Yeah, it's in a box and it says jury box. So it ain't there. That's a fact. Some of you are going, this motherfucker needs a tinfoil hat. You need to come out of your delusionment. You got to come out of your cognitive dissonance. You got some educating to do about styles manuals and writing and how these motherfuckers operate in the babble spellbound fucking bullshit. Facts and truth don't matter over here. Well, here you are. Okay. This is our world, right? Crazy, turbulent, motherfucking, covered in fucking darkness by the goddamn bar. Got it? This is it. You gotta flip it. And then you want it stable. Oh, you want it nice and peaceful. And you want all this evil shit down here. It can just fucking, it can do whatever the fuck it wants down there. And you don't care because you're up here. Or it's so heavenly. It's so beautiful and peaceful and full of love and harmony and health. You gotta keep an eye on this, aren't you? Yeah. And you're never gonna let it grow. It's gonna want to try and grow. It's gonna want to try and creep in, because that's what they did. You see, it just crept in until it got out of balance and started doing this, and then all the good was fucked. Fuckery, babble, demonic, blood-sucking, murdering vultures. Fucking pirates. I clipped my nose with that. I hope it don't start bleeding on me. I don't think it will. You gotta be careful, people. All right. So in over here in the jury box, are there jurors or not? It's all fiction. What do you even think about it for? Why are you giving this any validity? Think of it as a fucking hologram. Think of these administrative courts as a fucking hologram. It ain't there. It looks like it's there. You can see it. Your hand will go right through it. It can't come out and grab you. Don't give it any validity. Oh, Ethan, but the world, the world, oh, and it keeps stabilizing with this darkness, and I want to get out. I want to find freedom. There's got to be fucking freedom somewhere. So I need this. I need correction made in that system. You dumb down motherfucker. No, you don't. It's a fraud. It is based on mass genocide and murder. lifetime of fucking torture. You gurus know this. You gurus ought to be able to fucking pick this up. I'm going to make it so stupidly fucking simple that the dumb down can get it and own it. Hey, that looks like Keith. I think it is. Hey, Keith, greetings. Glad you're here. I am. All right. Being a bad smoker. So, you're so frustrated. Oh, I got a QVC account. There's money. There ain't no motherfucking money. There ain't no money. Not for you. You could have fiat notes. You could be a lawbreaker. You're forced into it. You're trapped into it. Go get gold back stamps. Try and pay for your groceries with gold back stamps. Take gold into the grocery store and try and pay for your groceries with fucking gold or silver. You're trapped in the system. You're completely fucking trapped. So you got to fight your way out. But in reality, if you own your authority, you just step out. You just walk away. You know who you are. And now you become a warrior. You don't throw fucking paper airplanes at kamikaze pilots in zeros. Because you ain't going to take them out and you're just giving them your location. No, you put a laser on that motherfucker, you drag them into your theater and you fucking take them out. All right. Bonds for the win. Kamikaze pilot in a zero. Are you bonded? Hey, motherfucker. You just fucking bombed. Did you take an oath? It's war. And you are spellbound in Babel. Brainwashed, dumbed down, toxified, emasculated. Instead of knowing when to shoot a cop, you cower in fucking fear. That's what you do, collectively. Because you're spellbound and fucking indoctrinated in Babel. So step out of it. Learn your postal mechanics. It's all right to make a mistake. You can correct the record. You live in honor. You have a duty, moral obligation. All right. Comes now affiant. All right, again. One of the things I would change, comes now claimant. And it might be the claimant. I can put some quantum into this, but I tell you, I would just, I'm going to keep it fucking simple. I'm going to bracket the motherfucker. I'm going to own it with the fucking stamps. I'm going to do all that bonding, everything to upgrade and just keep getting better and better and better. You drag them into a court of law and they are powerless. That is a fact. They're powerless. Comes now affiant, one of the people, as seen in the Michigan Bill of Rights, Article 1, Section 1, Michigan Constitution. Now that's in brackets on my paperwork. As seen in the Michigan Bill of Rights, Article 1, Section 1, Michigan Constitution. That means it's not on a damn page. So really, this reads, comes now afferent, which I would change to claimant. One of the people, G. Juris, in this court of record, do make the following claims. What court? High court. Your court. Did you create government or government create you? Can the created be greater than the creator? No. Never. Ever, never, never, ever. What's the highest level of government? Federal. Why would you be anything less than a federal witness and a federal prosecutor and operate in a federal court? All right. And we drop in some facts. Facts is what? As claims. Claims of facts. Now, again, your rights are not constitutional. They're unalienable, unalienable. They were once constitutionally protected. However, in the COG, martial law, reconstitution, baby, own it. And just fucking own it. Do the right thing. There's a time, and good men must do really bad things to bad men. Otherwise, we got the situation we're in today because too many good men let bad men do bad things and get away with it. No power, no force is excessive in defense of your life, limb, and property. It's war, and these motherfuckers are out to fucking kill you. And soldiers are assassins. Pure and fucking simple. Soldiers are assassins. They get missions. They get trained to conduct missions. They get trained to complete missions as assassins because it's fucking war. So get that through your head, people. They're motherfucking murdering you. If I fucking poisoned you, if I poisoned your loved one, if I poisoned your friend, if I poisoned anybody intentionally, doesn't that make me a murderer? And wouldn't you want justice? Your doctors are murdering you. Your dentists are murdering you. Your spirituality is being killed. This is fuckery, and this is fucking serious. It's real fucking serious. These motherfucking policy officers are murdering us. They're torturing us. They're kidnapping us. They got you fucking living in so much fucking fear. Tell you, it won't take much. It won't take much at all. All right, we're in the court of public opinion. Court's open. Some facts. Article 1, Declaration of Rights, Political Power, Section 1, all political power is inherent in the people. Government is instituted for their equal benefit, security, and protection. Please take further notice that any denial of the protection and maintenance of the people's individual rights are / is maladministration, treason, and an insurrection against the people. Equal protection, discrimination. All right, I'm going to take the paper clip off here. Just flip these. We go. Now, I did number the pages, top and bottom, over 2 years ago. Section 2, no person shall be denied the equal protection of laws, nor shall any person be denied the enjoyment of his constitutional or political rights, or be discriminated against in the exercise thereof because of religion, race, color, or national origin, or because you discover something that's great for humanity. I should have said full stop commentary and then jump back into this, but you're just going to have to. I'll try and make it obvious when I'm doing commentary and then when I'm getting back to the reading. So I'm getting reading here. The legislature shall implement this section by appropriate legislation. So that's history 1963, Article 1, Thingamabobby 2F, January 1, 1964. 3, assembly, consultation, instruction, petition. The people have the right peaceably to assemble, to consult for the common good, to instruct their representatives to instruct their representatives and to petition the government for redress of grievance. These are facts. These were once constitutionally protected. There was law, not fiction, fraud, assumption, presumption, slavement, where there is no law and facts cannot be heard. Article 3, General Government, Common Law and Statutes Continuance. Section 7, the common law and the statutes law now in force, not repugnant to this Constitution, shall remain in force until they expire by their own limitations or are changed, amended, or repealed. Now, people, this is babble, but you got to understand the volition. And this can all be quantumized. Your rights are unalienable, unalienable. Don't get confused with the fucking spellbound bullshit of these motherfuckers. Common law and acts of the colonial and state legislatures. Such parts of common law and the acts of the legislature of the colony of New York, as together did form the law of said colony on the 19th day of April, 1775, and the resolutions of the Congress of the said colony and of the Convention of the State of New York in force on the 20th day of April, 1777, which have not since expired or been repealed or altered, and such acts of the legislature of this state as are now in force shall be and continue the law of this state, subject to such alterations as the legislature shall make concerning the same, but all such parts of the common law and such of said acts or parts thereof as are repugnant to this Constitution are hereby abrogated. It's a fact. The reason you put facts and evidence into your case is because you can and should get into interrogatories for discovery, which we're getting very close to. Section 2, people may alter or abolish form of government. The people of the state have the sole and exclusive right of governing themselves as a free, sovereign, and independent state, and to alter and abolish their constitution and form of government whenever they may deem it necessary to their safety and happiness, provided such change be not repugnant to the Constitution of the United States. Well, there's some fuckery there. However, the volition is there. Section 1, inherent and unalienable rights. All men are by nature free and independent and have certain inherent and unalienable rights, among which are life, liberty, and the pursuit of happiness. To secure these rights and protections of property, governments are instituted among men, deriving their just powers from the consent of the governed. Preservation of free government. Free government and the blessings of liberty can be preserved to any people only by a firm adherence to justice, moderation, temperance, frugality, and virtue, and by a frequent reoccurrence to fundamental principles. Ladies and gentlemen of the jury, do you comprehend the facts put before you? Is there any confusion that must be cleared up before these proceedings continue? I'll give you a minute to type in. This court is open. This is public forum. All right, it would appear that the jury has no questions. The jury fully comprehends the facts presented so far. We'll have no fuckery in this courtroom. Unless it's by my authority. Which should just be for fuckery of British invaders. PHUCK, British invaders. Fuck British invaders. Fuck them straight down. All right. Appears we're getting into some written testimony. I felt that I was in need of a constitutional attorney, and I started calling from contact information I found online. And I've talked with so many so-called constitutional attorneys in recent times, and they are either clueless or blatantly hiding the truth when it comes to understanding constitutional common law. We have Mark Levin, the constitutional attorney on TV, never gets into the state constitutions, and I now clearly understand why. I would have wrote comprehend, but who gives a shit? I'm not worried about understood or understanding, or I own my authority. You just have to comprehend the volition. If you can't comprehend it, we'll make it clear to you with facts. In the state constitutions, we the people have all power, and yet it has been greatly taken from we the people through deception and hiding the key of knowledge. And we find ourselves living in an extremely litigated society and require an attorney because we don't speak legalese. I find it very interesting how some civil rights statutes, acts, rules have made their way into the federal constitution. See, I was so stupid. You can see how dumbed down I was, because I would write some of this shit a little bit different and a lot more powerful. But this is what I did a little over 2 years ago. I find it very interesting how some civil rights statutes, acts, rules have made their way into the federal constitution, and as such, so convenient to avoid the true truth. And that is always where the bar attorneys want to go, where we have statutes, acts, regulations, and rules, and never to constitutional common law and the franchises of the free man. I also find it interesting that a judge cannot give advice from the bench, and yet we rely on a judge to follow the law. the true law, the constitutional common law. It's also interesting that a judge will typically ask a few questions. One, do you live in the United States? That's the trap. And just about everybody says, yes, I did. Because I thought I did. Because I was dumbed down, toxified, indoctrinated, brainwashed, fucked up, completely disconnected from source and knowledge and power. And I said, yeah, I live in the United States. Little did I know that I was admitting to their jurisdiction to be a slave. Number two, have you been advised of your rights? Now the trap is set because everyone will say, yes, I live in the United States. And status and standing is now declared as in the United States that has a footprint of 10 square miles. Well, maybe that's a 10-mile radius, but it's something like that. That was commentary. Back to reading. I believe that if a judge was truly interested in fair and equal justice, the judge could and should say, do you live outside the District of Columbia? And really should say, do you live in the United States of America? I believe that if a judge was able to provide legal advice and the judge followed the Constitution's common law, the judge would tell the defendant that they have not been properly advised because within the United States, we, the people, have no constitutional common law rights. We rely on bar attorneys to protect our rights. And yet the opposite is the case with regards to constitutional common law and the franchises of we, the people. I have noticed that some words have been removed from the daily language and not taught in our schools that make it difficult for we, the people, to understand what we read in the Constitution, such as abrogate and repugnant. When I read the Bill of Rights and Declaration of Rights, I see a very disturbing takeover of the American way of life that turned our country into a society always on the edge, worrying and warring about things that our forefathers clearly wrote in our constitutions to prevent and how to correct. It is also my understanding that bar members' oath puts priority in this order. First, the bar. Second, the law. Third, to themselves. And last on the list is the client. Translated, I understand. First, deception of the people and their franchises of rights. Second, legislative law only. No common law. Third, money, 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 more and more money, and the client is last priority and never taught or advised of their God-given constitutional rights guaranteed when living free outside of the United States and within the United States of America. I'm in my 60s and have been involved in business for decades, and I have had lots of legal issues and spent a great deal of time and money with bar member attorneys, and not one of them ever advised me about the state's constitutions. Not even the attorney who was a business partner, nor the attorney who was a personal friend. So back to constitutional attorneys who are also bar member attorneys. And what do I find? They are hiding the truth, or the truth has been hidden from them. I recently listened to a professor of law on YouTube being questioned on common law, and the professor is quite adamant that common law is the accumulation of decisions from case history and has nothing to do with the Constitution. And so I see word manipulation in higher learning education systems that is dumbing down the free man. There is a bar attorney with a YouTube channel, and he put out a video, 10 things not in the Constitution. And here again, we have a bar attorney teaching we the people about the Constitution and telling us falsely and fraudulently or ignorantly his misinformation to the people on their most precious franchise on liberty and freedom. And he would have us believe that the number one thing not in the Constitution, I lost my trick. The number one thing not in the Constitution is God. And he goes on to say that God is not in the Constitution with exception to the phrase year of our Lord. He also states that nowhere will we find the term happiness in the Constitution. He says that life, liberty, and property are mentioned, but not happiness. Then he says life, liberty, and happiness is another document altogether. And then he skips right along to the next topic and starts talking about the Supreme Court. It says the Constitution doesn't state how many justices sit on the Supreme Court. He says we may think we have a right to privacy, but it does not exist in the Constitution. He rambles on about how there might be something that sounds like privacy, but it's not guaranteed in the Bill of Rights. He also says we don't have the right to travel in the Constitution. He says, so yes, you need a driver's license. And he talks about how life, liberty, and pursuit of happiness, the franchises of We the People, comes from a really bad movie. Or maybe we got that from Declaration of Independence, and that is not really a legal document. This motherfucker needs to be fitted for a rope. Feeling let down and frustrated after years of assault from government, suffered defamation of character, and been reduced to poverty, I gathered together a few constitutions of bills and declarations of rights, and it is clear that not one bar attorney or judge knows about the bills of rights or declarations of right, protections of free man, or they purposely hide the truth because in the 47 documents I gathered, I find God mentioned 47 times, Lord 7 times, pray 17 times, blessing 22 times, religious 213 times, as to happiness 52 times, liberty 207, private 149 times, privacy 22 times, enjoyment 92 times, and free 407 times. When I searched to see if a judge is sworn in by oath to the Constitution, and I cannot find a single reference, and so it would appear that the judges who are supposed to dispense fair and equal justice do so with no consideration to constitutional common law, usurping the trust / Constitution indenture, and are organized outside of our constitutional government. Not formed by government, the bar is not a republic or constitutional entity and has no allegiance to the United States of America. The purpose of the original organization was to set forth in its first constitution was the advancement of the science of jurisprudence and uniformity of legislation throughout the country. The bar has worked its way into near every aspect of our daily life unconstitutionally. The Bar Association was founded in 1828, and the American Bar Association was founded August 21st, 1878. Was a voluntary bar association of lawyers and law students, which is not specific to any jurisdiction in the United States. The ABA's most important stated activities are the setting of academic standards, and this explains the dumbing down of the people through lower education standards and hiding the truth, and the key of knowledge from we the people. At least seven generations of lower learning, because I am certain my great-great-grandparents would have said, no, we have immunity, we have franchise, we have inalienable rights, indefeasible rights. Oh no, that is not. Oh no, that is repugnant, and therefore it must be abrogated. We are free people. Where did the bar get authority to tell us what laws will be? How can the bar have higher authority than the boss, the people? It cannot have a higher authority. It has usurped power through nefarious methods. All right, now we get into interrogatories, discovery. And these, you want to keep them very specific. You don't want to compound your admits. And so we'll see how I did here. I didn't read this. I did not read this before coming on YouTube. I haven't looked at this in a damn long time. A long time. I couldn't tell you the last time. So this is kind of like a all refresher for me, and so I can see, some of the things I would have said different, some of the things I'd have wrote different. Yet the volition is there, the truth and facts are what's on trial here. And so, did I dot an I or cross a T? It don't fucking matter. Did I do it in quantum or not? It doesn't fucking matter. What matters is truth and fact and justice. That's it. Admit the constitutional common law statutes and standing as adult taxpayer outside the United States is where American people have franchise of all rights guaranteed within the Republic states' common law constitutions. Admit that statutes and standing within the United States is where the people have no constitutional common law rights guaranteed within the Republic states' constitutions. Admit the United States is located within 10 square miles of America. Admit the District of Columbia is the United States. Admit that a judge will ask a defendant if they live in the United States. Admit that said question above is nefarious, evil, wicked trick on the dumbed down American. Admit that no bar member judge is sworn to the Constitution. Admit the administrative bar judge administrators unconstitutionally over free men who live outside the United States and do it without a jury. Admit that all men are by nature free and independent. Admit that a man who lives without the United States is a servant. Admit that a man who lives within the United States is a servant or under contract or without constitutional common law rights by status and standing. Admit that the Constitution /trust indenture separates three equal branches of government. Admit the executive branch of government is bound by the Constitution. Admit that the legislative branch of government is bound by the Constitution. Admit that the judicial branch of government is bound by the Constitution. And yet the judiciary bar operates outside of our constitutional government within private bar membership association. And that the bar is not aligned with the American constitutional fundamentals of law, nor the United States of America, nor we the people. Admit that bar attorney Steve Leto with the law office in Southfield, Michigan, teaches that the number one thing not in the Constitution is God. Admit that the constitutional republic states have ratified their respective constitutions with the federal Constitution. Admit that God is mentioned in the constitutions of the republic state that are ratified in the United States Constitution. Admit that God is mentioned in the constitutions of the republic states. Admit the bar has no regard for constitutional common law. Admit that a superior court is the people's court for status and standing. Admit that a tax-paying adult American has all standing in superior court. Admit that all American population increases. Admit that as the American population increases, the superior courts are closed and consolidated and are not visible in the public realm. Admit that most people do not even know of a superior court. Admit the bar attorneys advise legislative officials. Admit that some legislators are bar members. Admit bar policy is repugnant to constitutional fundamentals in the United States of America. Admit that bar members' oath is repugnant to constitutional fundamentals. Admit that bar judge procedures are repugnant to American constitutional fundamentals. Admit that freedom is inherent to free men, yet the bar attorney's willful fraud by not constitutionally protecting freedom is repugnant to constitutional fundamentals and an act of war of the people. Admit free men are wrongfully incarcerated because of bar policy being repugnant to constitutional fundamentals. Admit that administering a free man to purchase a license plate is repugnant constitutional fundamentals of liberty and franchises of liberty. Admit that administering a free man to purchase a driver's license is repugnant to the constitutional freedoms, constitutional fundamentals of liberty and franchises of liberty. Admit that ticketing a free man for bylaw infractions is repugnant to the constitutional fundamentals of liberty and franchise of liberty. Admit that fining a free man for bylaw infractions is repugnant to the Republic State's Constitution. Admit that an operator's license administration is assigned to commerce and those under contract of government, and only they can be administered on the issue and not the free man. Admit that administering a free man to purchase insurance is repugnant to constitutional fundamentals of liberty and franchise. Admit that when legislative law that is repugnant to the common law, when applied on a free man, is merely a suggestion to the free man, and by common law, article and section is abrogated to maintain franchises of the free man. Admit that legislative law cannot be repugnant to constitutional law and have binding impact to a free man. Admit that constitutionally repugnant legislative law is to be abrogated. Admit that the bar does not operate with a policy of frequent reoccurrence to American constitutional fundamental principles, which is an essential aspect of preserving constitutional protections of the people's God-given rights of constitutional franchise. Admit that the court cases would be significantly reduced if bar attorneys defended American constitutional common law liberties, constitutional protections, and franchise. Bury these fucking parasites in paperwork and fact and truth, and they are powerless. They're absolutely powerless. He has to respond to every one of these. To every one of these admits. He's either got to admit or deny, or say can neither admit or deny. And when you put the facts in the document, he can't say deny. And when the facts and evidence is put in the document, he cannot say can neither admit or deny. So the only option left is deny. And then you'll see this is also a contract. It's an affidavit. Affidavit becomes unrefuted, becomes truth and law. It's a contract. And I would definitely be quantum contracting. Going forward, I would implement everything I've learned, and I would look to learn more. Admit that a bar attorney has little to no regard for constitutional rights of common law when defending a client's property. Admit that a bar attorney has little to no regard of constitutional rights of common law when defending a client's reputation. Admit that a bar judge has little to no regard for constitutional rights of constitutional common law when dispensing judgment to an American client's freedom. Admit that a bar judge has little to no regard for constitutional rights of common law when dispensing judgment to the client's liberty. Admit that a bar judge has little to no regard for constitutional right of common law when dispensing judgment to a client's security. Admit that a bar judge has little to no regard for constitutional rights of common law when dispensing judgment to a client's privacy. Admit that a bar judge has little to no regard for constitutional rights of common law when dispensing judgment to a client's property. Admit that a bar judge has little to no regard for constitutional rights of common law when dispensing judgment to a client's reputation. Admit that bar attorneys advertising as constitutional attorneys do not practice in common law rights with the facts of common law, nor the people's indefeasible rights as free men, as presented, documented, and stated here within and by truth. Admit that a sheriff is an elected official. Admit that an elected official has a higher position than any federally appointed official or policy police or division or subdivision of the federal government, or department or division of, and that they are servants of the people with a limited just authority. Admit that city and state police are appointed. Admit that appointed police and policy police are, or bylaw police. I wrote or, maybe it should have said are. Admit that policy police have no authority to administer over a free man. Admit that policy police operate outside their just authority and usurp their limited power unconstitutionally. Admit that policy police and departments of are schooled by bar attorneys. Admit that policy police generates money for the bar and bar attorneys when operating outside their just constitutional authority, thus warring with we the people. Admit that the bar has recently made news for attacking attorneys that stand for the people. Admit the bar recently stripped Rudy Giuliani of his bar card. Admit that the bar has received notice from the people telling the bar our courts are not a playground for bar attorneys. Admit that the bar has received notice that the people will not tolerate bar attorneys attacking our great bar attorneys that stand for we the people. Admit that the bar has abused the courts constitutionally and unconstitutionally administrative cases with no jury. Admit that the highest power is the administrative power dictated and drafted within the Republic constitutional states, bills, and declarations of rights. Admit that constitutional common law has a higher authority than any legislative bylaw created from those of servitude. Admit that the servant never administers over the boss without authority being granted prior to. Admit that denying independence of a free man is warring with his inalienable, indefeasible franchise of independence, privacy, liberty, freedom, and religion. Admit that denying liberty of a free man is warring with his inalienable, indefeasible franchise of liberty. Admit that denying freedom of a free man is warring with his inalienable, indefeasible franchise of freedom. Admit that warring actions on the free man's inalienable, indefeasible franchise of common law, constitutionally protected rights is an act of treason. Admit that no legislative statute, act, regulation, or rule can be repugnant to an indefeasible, inalienable franchise of a free man. Admit that bar attorney Steve Leto teaches online 10 things not in the Constitution. Admit that the federal Constitution encompasses the constitutional common law of the Republic states, and that the states' constitutions have over 400 religious references in count to the following: God, Lord, prayer, religion, worship, and blessings. Admit that a bar attorney is not capable of defending a constitutional franchise because he has no understanding of common law, or intentionally hides the key of knowledge, or the key of knowledge has been taken out of higher education and the law degree comes from the dumbed down education system. Admit that the bar is a private member association. Admit that the bar is a private foreign entity. Admit that the bar is not licensed by any state. Admit that the federal government has not licensed the bar. Admit that the bar members take an oath with 4 priorities. Admit first priority is to the bar. Admit second priority is to legislative law or bylaw. Admit third priority is to the individual bar member and profit. Admit that the client of the bar attorney is the 4th lowest said priority. He's got to answer these. Every fucking one. Admit that a bar attorney has little to no regard for constitutional rights of constitutional common law when defending an American client's freedom. Admit that a bar attorney has little to no regard of constitutional rights of common law when defending a client's liberty. Admit that a bar attorney has little to no regard of constitutional rights of common law when defending a client's security. Admit that a bar attorney has little to no regard for constitutional rights of common law when defending a client's privacy. Plato tells you got no right to privacy in the Constitution. It all come from a bad movie. Admit that prayer is mentioned in the Constitution of the Republic States. Admit that Lord is mentioned in the Constitution of the Republic States. Admit that religious is mentioned in the Constitution of the Republic States. Admit that worship is mentioned in the Constitution of the Republic States. Admit that happiness is mentioned in the Constitution of the Republic States. Admit that enjoy is mentioned in the Constitution of the Republic States. Admit that enjoyment is mentioned in the Constitution of the Republic States. Admit that private is mentioned in the Constitution of the Republic States. Admit that privacy is mentioned in the Constitution of the Republic States. Admit that free is mentioned in the Constitution of the Republic States. Admit that freedom is mentioned in the Constitution of the Republic States. Admit that American man is by nature free and independent. Admit that a Michigan man is by nature free and independent. Admit that no entity has contract over the free people. Admit that no man has contract over the free people. Admit that no man can administer over a free man. Admit that no entity can administer over a free man. Admit that common law is based from biblical teachings. Admit that common law is the founding law of the Republic States. Admit that common law is the highest law across the common land. Admit that common law of we the people, positioned of highest authority, categorizes with article and section, and administrates a limited and just authority to government and contractors of. Admit that bylaw categorized with statutes, acts, regulations, and rule that administrates a limited authority to government servants who are bound by an oath and also for contractors of government. Admit that the Constitution administrates over a free man only for evil, wicked, and or nefarious deeds. Otherwise has no administrative authority in binding of the free man. Admit that all free men have certain inalienable rights. Admit that all free men have certain indefeasible rights. Admit that a free man has franchise of liberty. Admit that a free man has franchise of freedom. Admit that a free man has franchise of independence. Admit that government is established to do the business of the people. Admit that doing the business of the people is a servitude duty with responsibility and limited authority. Admit that the people administer a free government. Getting close. Getting close. Wet my pipes here. Admit that if a bar attorney defended common law liberties and protections, there would be little to no need for a bar attorney by the people. Admit the United States Constitution is the supreme law of the United States of America, so long as it was not repugnant to the state's constitutions. Admit that the United States Constitution is the supreme law of the United States of America, so long as it is not repugnant to the Republic States constitutions. Therefore, a repugnant statute, act, rule, or regulation must be abrogated. Admit that a free man is entitled to liberty in the area of cannabis. Admit that a free man is entitled to the liberty in the area of LSD. Admit that a free man is entitled to liberty in the area of cocaine. Admit that a free man is entitled to liberty in the area of speed. Admit that a free man is entitled to liberty in the area of opium. Admit that a free man is entitled to liberty in the area of mushrooms. Admit that a free man is entitled to liberty in the area of travel. Admit that a free man is entitled to liberty in the area of a busted windshield. Admit that a free man is entitled to liberty in the area of a faulty turn signal. Admit that a free man is entitled to liberty in the area of a seatbelt. Admit that a free man is entitled to liberty in the area of obstructed view. Admit that a free man is entitled to liberty in the area of teaching law. Admit that the union in matrimony of a free man and free woman creates a private membership association naturally. Admit that a private membership association is outside of government statutes, acts, rules, and regulations. Admit that a free man has diplomatic immunity at all times. Admit that Admit that the people instated government. Admit that government is established to protect and serve the people's liberties and franchises. All right, so that takes care of the interrogatories for discovery, as they all, well, okay. I don't think Rob Buchanan ever saw this because it went to the Kalkaska County Sheriff. Because after 2.5 hours of educating that jail sergeant, he put his hands out like this and said, "Give it to me." And I gave it to him, along with, at that time, 47 states' love letters. He said, "You're giving this to me too?" You're damn right. So some of those cases had been held, and the respondents pled guilty, and others had yet to be served, but I didn't have the money at that time to send out the mail. So I, as prosecutor, put the cases in the hands of the Kalkaska County Sheriff's Department and ordered the arrest and detention of everyone on that list. So now we get into an important section here, and you can read many of the cases that I created, facilitated in the document section of the services page, oralhealthwithcannabis.com. There's 2 files there. The title references Gretchen and Camp Grayling. I'm not sure which order, if it's Camp Grayling Gretchen or Gretchen Camp Grayling. It's actually one file that was too big to put through the scanner. And I don't know, it's probably a good inch thick, put together. That is the paperwork that I served on 3 garrison commanders at Camp Grayling. So it has the majority of the cases without all the exhibits. So some of these cases, the exhibits were took up as much or more paper space than the case itself. And so the cases were presented, as well as I put 3 garrison commanders in my court and ordered them to readiness and to report for duty, which of course they didn't. And that could be because of the continuity of government and martial law, which at that time I was not with the knowledge. I was not with the knowledge. And so possibly those 3 garrison commanders don't have to face a tribunal. But if they're part of the black hat, I imagine they'll be seeing a tribunal. All right, so the contract, this is an affidavit and contract. So that might say this is a David and, oh, this says this is an affidavit and complaint. That's a mistake. And nobody, Kathleen Armstrong says, prove martial law, prove it. Kathy doesn't want to believe, and she doesn't want to do the research, and she wants me to prove it for her. I'm not your daddy, Kathleen. The documents.info. The documents.info. Kathleen, you disprove it. How's that? You disprove it. So this should have said this is an affidavit, contract, and change of terms. So, possibly, I was mind fucked. Possibly, I was mind fucked. Um, any man or woman who denies these claims are true must rebut them under penalty of perjury in the form of sworn affidavit. Any man or woman who decides to suppress this affidavit agrees to pay 30,000, and any disputes by any public officials or private actors who operate in conflict to the Michigan Constitution agrees to have these matters heard before an arbitrator of my choice and be bound thereby. Any man or woman denying these claims are true must rebut these claims point by point within 3 days or 72 hours. Failure to respond means that by acquiescence you agree that all claims are true. Failing to respond with constitutionally granted authority, which gave you the power to disregard the rights of the people mentioned within this affidavit and notice, means that you agree to have this affidavit used as evidence of treason, constitutional rights violations, and maladministration. You further agree that once the 3-day period has expired, this affidavit becomes truth and law, and that all matters must be considered adjudged. And considered adjudged, and that no court has a jurisdiction to rehear these matters, and that the witness and all additional witnesses against you and the bar member association shall be considered sufficient for conviction. Remedy in full shall be had at a later date, time, and place. In the meantime, you are to remove the bar from the people's business today, or the American Bar Association is subject to a constitutional class action with a retroactive power. Furthermore, I, Ethan D. Dean, and the people fully reserve and retain any and all rights to remedy in these matters and do not surrender or forfeit any rights to remedy within, by, and through this declaration. Then we do the verification and notary is juris certificate, and the case is facilitated. So, do you think that took chutzpah? Do you think that took chutzpah to create a document and, as prosecutor, serve it to the Kalkaska County Sheriff? I've done it to the head of the DEA, the head of the USPTO, Gretchen Whitmer, 3 garrison commanders, Sheriff Darleaf, Under Sheriff Jason Sixberry. I'm still here, aren't I? And I'm one of the most feared men on the planet. And now the parasites fear me, where they used to dismiss me and run me over, knock me down, beat me up. Now they're shitting their pants. So Kathleen says, she says, I'm not claiming we are under martial law. That's okay, Kathy. Nobody asked you to claim it. I'm just reporting what I believe to be fact. It's up to you to do your own research. I diligently work at providing true and correct information. I don't want to mislead you people in any way, shape, or form. So there there's always um, troublemakers in every movement. Every movement is infiltrated, and and you'll get people that'll just cause all kind of trouble any way they can. And so I say, um, if you can disprove Derek Johnson, please do. I have been unable to disprove Derek Johnson, with the exception of I believe he one time referenced the gold fringe flag as a military parade flag, and I don't think he's ever talked about it again since. Um, if he made a correction, I haven't heard it. Other than that, I cannot discredit anything that Derek Johnson brings forward. Um, as far as Russell um, capturing the flag and everything else that he's done, his long story, I can't disprove or discredit any of it, not one bit. And apparently, I it the stuff is validated. So, if you can disprove it, share it with us, because we want the truth and we want the facts. So the truth is, the British never stopped warring with us. Your yin has been yanged, and you're living in some really turbulent times. So if you know who you are and you own your authority, we will change this. If you don't own your authority, maybe a greater force of the authority will correct the system for the benefit of all of those that are unable, unwilling, or unwanting. So, in the end, it should all be good. All right. Um, Anybody got any questions? Kathleen says, if Russell J. Gould has done what he said he did, then why isn't he in the rightful spot? How do you know he's not in the rightful spot, Kathleen? Kathleen, what is the rightful spot? Kathleen, do you know that in a 6-word sentence of Babel, there's, according to David Wynn Miller's math, over 500 trillion variables, and you've got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17, 8. I think 18 words here if I counted right. And you're asking if Russell J. Gould has done what he said he did, then why isn't he in the right spot? What is the right spot, Kathy? And how do you know he's not there? How do you know? I love you, Kathy. I do. And I just I hope that you'll expand your mind and do some research um, and come to the right conclusion. That's what I want for everybody. That's what I want for me. All right. That's what I want for me. That's what I want for you. That's what I want for all of us, is the truth and the facts. And you got to own your authority in order to get there. All right. Anybody got a question? Anything at all? Any question at all? Publicly saying who he is. Well, I think he has publicly said who he is all over the world. Um, have you been to his Telegram channel? Have you watched any of his YouTube videos? There was something. I've been a little busy with the garden, and I have purposely been not following any of the stuff because it's just so damn depressing. Everybody's so far behind the times. Oh, well, it looks like Russell has not been flooding this with posts, so I should be able to scroll up and find what the one post that is I think is a little bit relevant here with why hasn't he publicly. I love this one. I blow this up a little bit. I love this one. I'd use this for a right to travel, right to carry thumbnail. Foreign fiction, global postal union choice. That guy's making a choice, the direction he wants to go. So, oh yeah, Russell, he just put a shit ton of. Well, all right. I think I'll come back and play this. This was put July 3rd. I'm gonna keep scrolling up though because I want to find. I don't think I got to go too far. I hope you have the ability to stick with this. He just put a flood of posts in the other day. This is a good one. To survive in a nation of sheep ruled by wolves, owned by pigs, you must become a lion. But there was a post. Could this no? There was a post that listed off so many of the, I'm going to say titles because I don't know a better word. Oh, come on. Well, maybe I bypassed it. Come down here. I gotta get to the, I think I said the third. Let's see. Come on now, Ethan. Stand, Title 4 flag. Free zone. All right, here we go. I'm gonna turn the speaker on. This was difficult audio. It was difficult audio, so let's see. It's 21 seconds long, and this is Russell.
Claimants and sovereigns, thank you for your patience. I am cognizant that I've not really been in the venue for a minute because I've been busy elsewhere taking care of other needs that were needed for the quantum system. The work is done. It was very positive. I'm going to be making my way back into the community. Thank you for your patience, your love, your aid, and thank Rachel Heaven, Daughter Colin Prince for all the hard work she's done to maintain this while I've been gone. So thank you guys, and blessings on your space. Blessings.
So we know that he's been. He's told us that he's been busy. He had some things to take care of. So the work of the quantum system, according to Russell, is done. It's in place. We've got the devolution going on, which is all the mass confusion. Look here, look there. Don't talk about the truth. And popcorn. Oh, apparently are happening and not being reported. Derek Johnson will be in Gitmo, if not this month, next month. And he will be reporting. So the information just keeps pouring out. And I think the yin yang, very, 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 very unstable, and we're getting ready to flip. And once we have eliminated all the darkness, we can live in the light. And the balance of the yin and the yang should be more as I demonstrated than what they show you. Your educators. Everything's been a lie. So that court case, that work is over 2 years old. I was in the infancy of owning my authority because I only been red pilled for about 2.5 years. All right, everybody. I love you. I'm going to keep bringing it. They created a monster destroyer in me, and I am here to destroy the evil and do my part to set us all free. Much love, everybody. I love you. I love you. I love you. Peace.